Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Shivantika Sharad from the Department of Applied Psychology, Vivekanand College, University of Delhi. And today we will be talking about ethical issues in criminology under the foundations of criminology. The completion of this module shall help a student appreciate the range of ethical issues that the practice of criminology entails and some of the ways to imbibe and abide by them. An understanding of criminal behavior and knowledge of the significance of ethics are a preamble to what we are about to discuss. So let's see that what are the ethical implications in the field of criminal justice. As the noted legal philosopher Leon Louis Fuller stated in his book The Morality of Law in 1964, even if a human is answerable to his conscience, he will answer more responsibly if he is compelled to articulate principles on which he acts. No discipline dealing with human behavior and human beings can exist without having ethical principles of conduct. So is true of criminology. The situation is even more exigent for this discipline as there is an inherent paradox, crime being the complete antithesis of ethical conduct. Hence, a number of ethical issues face the law enforcement officials, criminology professionals, and other legal judicial service providers. Let us first consider a few situations and attempt to decipher what the ethical thing to do would be. So, the first scenario, you are a criminologist and a father of a 10-year-old boy, Sumit. Your son Sumit is invited to a birthday party of his neighborhood friend Keshav. Sumit and Keshav are friends, but they study in different schools. You take your son to the party and you find a lot of Keshav's school friends already there. While having their regular chit-chat, you overhear Keshav's school friends talking about a man called Ashok who gives them sweets at the gate of the school. There was a lot of hushing and shushing and exchanged glances at this point, and it became clear that there was something fishy. You also find out that some of the parents of these kids know and have asked their kids not to talk about it. Now, as a criminologist, what would you do? The answer is not very simple, but the welfare of vulnerable groups like children overrides other concerns. It probably is a case of suspected child abuse, and this must be disclosed to the proper authorities for investigation. It should also be brought to the notice of school even if the suspicion is vague. Consider the another scenario. A criminologist is out on the eve of Diwali to shop at a local shop. This particular shopkeeper is quite well known in the community for his community service and the help he provides for crime prevention programs. The shopkeeper offers a costly hamper to the criminologist as a Diwali gift. Now, in this situation, it might seem very, very simple, yet it has an inherent moral dilemma. The moral choice is whether the criminologist shall accept benefits in the course of performing his or her duties. In cases like these, it is usually left up to the discretion of the officer whether or not to accept a gratuity. However, as we all know, there is no such thing as a free lunch. The gift may come with hidden expectations from the person giving it. So, in this scenario, the person should refuse the gift, suggesting maybe that the shopkeeper can donate it to some orphanage or blind school. The gift could become an obligation later on for some unprofessional favors that the shopkeeper might demand. Ethics in criminological practice. Now, these scenarios point towards the ethical dilemmas in criminological practices. They are the examples that are faced at day-to-day levels. The second scenario, for example, represents something that is called an ethical slippery slope in the field of ethics. Ethical slippery slope argument says that if we allow something relatively harmless today, we may start a trend that results in something currently unthinkable of becoming accepted. In other words, a relatively small first step can culminate into a significant negative effect through a chain of related events. The question here is, when I do what I am about to do, what other actions might follow? More often than not, there is no coming back from the slope except falling down. Hence, it is also called an ethical slippery cliff. So, acceptance of a gift might seem harmless today, but can lead to unintended consequences. The first scenario deals with the rights of the community to be safe and protected, and the duty of the criminology professional is to warn and protect. Three issues need to be considered by any professional, more so by a practitioner of criminology when making a decision about how to act. These are: 1. What is legal? The first question then one needs to ask is the legal standard, that is typically the minimum acceptable level to meet the requirements of the law. The next question is, what is ethical? What is the most I should do for this individual? What is in this situation the best interest of the individual? The next question to be asked is, what is moral? When I put my head down on the pillow tonight, how will I feel about what I am about to do? Will I be completely guilt-free? Can I tell my partner, my employer, my children? Now, the prescribed way that one should ask this question is the moral question first, followed by the ethical and then the legal, while making ethical decisions. The field of ethics deals with systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. Ethical issues in criminal justice have been addressed on both a philosophical and historical level. Since the standard code of ethics that needs to be upheld is translated subjectively by every individual, it could result in the possibility of ethically questionable conduct. Such ethical issues have become an increasing challenge in the field of criminal justice. Every professional of criminology has to face situations that call for ethical decision making at every step that is involved to process a criminal case. Code of Criminal Procedure is the procedural law for conducting a criminal trial in India. The procedure includes the manner for collection of evidence, examination of witnesses, interrogation of accused, arrests, safeguards, and procedure to be adopted by police and courts, bail, the process of criminal trial, a method of conviction, and the rights of the accused of a fair trial by principles of natural justice. Now, let us discuss some of the major ethical issues that are a part of a criminologist's code of conduct. The first one is ethical issues regarding interaction. Interactions of criminologists with community members or criminals who might be innocent until proven guilty or victims can often be misconstrued or sometimes be used against an officer. Hence, it is important that criminologists refrain from any kind of interaction that could be questioned later on. For instance, an officer may restrain a potentially dangerous citizen and be accused of excessive force. While interacting with people, criminologists also need to consider people's willingness to share information and to be a part of the legal system. This is also referred to as self-participation on the part of the public. Participation of the civilian should be encouraged by legal services authority. The confidence of people is the greatest asset that the police enjoy in investigation of crimes and maintenance of law and order. In present-day scenario, this confidence is at its lowest point, where the police are increasingly losing public confidence. If police itself is seen as the transgressor of law and abuser of power, the public develops repulsion towards the same, making the duties of the police officials even more difficult. This affects the investigation system adversely and has been found to be present widely in India. Victim satisfaction is an important area of study. Satisfaction with justice processes through a fairness, respectful treatment and behaviors and desired outcomes is both ethically desirable and a necessity for effective justice. The next issue is ethical issues regarding corruption. Corruption in criminal justice is a common theme. In India, particularly corruption has plagued the criminal justice system for years. India has been ranked 79th out of the 176 countries in the Corruption Perception Index for the year 2016 by the Berlin-based corruption watchdog Transparency International. Many a time, public servants, law enforcement personnel and criminology professionals may be put into positions where they are offered large payoffs to ignore illegal conduct. People and their confidence is gradually decreasing in the criminal justice system, and to restore the confidence it is essential that a regular review of all cases is done at various levels, police, judiciary as well as in prison. The third ethical issue is the issue regarding brutality. It is a known fact that crime and criminals are seen with a lot of abhorrence and criminals are treated with a lot of disrespect. Professionals of criminal justice system at times treat the suspects of crime cruelly. There appears to be a growing need to engender criminal prosecution for officers whose actions result in injury or death. Dealing with human rights issues of the suspects or criminals is a significant ethical problem faced. Ethical issues also arise when an unusual or cruel punishment is administered. Another ethical problem is when human rights, such as that of prisoners and women, are violated. Capital punishment is also part of human rights ethical problem. The next ethical issue is regarding the off-duty behavior of the enforcing officers. Consider this situation. A law enforcing officer Rakesh is invited by a friend Mithun at his place to celebrate Mithun's success. Rakesh discovers that some of Mithun's friends are using cocaine and other drugs in his backyard, where Mithun also is spending considerable time. Rakesh is taken aback. As being a law enforcing officer, he faces the dilemma whether or not he should report his friend to the authorities. If he reports his friend's well-being is in jeopardy, and if he does not, he is not upholding the principles of ethics. Now, several codes have been established for acceptable conduct of professionals of criminal justice, and they are expected to abide by it without expressing bias or personal views during work hours and in their personal lives as well. So even during off hours, they should be setting an example for the common citizen. Unfortunately, those who should be regulating law can often get away with bending or breaking laws themselves. This is a common thing to be seen in Indian law enforcement officers. For example, in the case of Priyadarshini Mattu, described in Module 2, the accused was the son of high-ranking police officer, and the courts pointed out the tardy and lax nature of initial investigation that led to the acquittal of the accused by the law court before being finally convicted by the High Court. Unethical activities by these individuals are an issue because the person in question is often treated with a lighter punishment, or law enforcement turns a blind eye because of the association with the police or government organization. There are ethical issues in criminal profiling as well. Criminal profiling or offender profiling is wrought with many ethical and professional issues. It is used in complex investigations and in a number of jurisdictions as expert evidence in criminal trials. Despite its significance, many profiling standards fall short of the recommendations offered by psychological societies and psychometricians. Processes and procedures of criminal investigation and profiling are important, and they are as important as the outcomes. As Schiffler 2014 points out, that little research has been undertaken to assess the actual accuracy of generated profiles. This lack of objective evidence of validity in this area is necessary to be thought about. Michael Boylan in 2011 suggested a model based upon psychological and behavioral data, witness data, and forensic profiling data that fits the legitimate uses of criminal profiling as an investigation procedure. Another issue of ethics in crime is the crime control, that is the discriminatory practices. Crime control and discrimination has been widely noted, and the minority groups are disproportionately and more likely to be stopped and searched as compared to non-minority groups. Biases exist in our culture against specific groups, for example, slum dwellers, tribal communities, northeastern population, lower socioeconomic status people. A lot of inter-regional stereotypes, prejudices, discriminatory practices drive the needle of suspicion towards innocent people. A number of incidents show how racial biases and stereotypes have been institutionalized. Institutionalized racism is widely prevalent in India. The racial prejudice and bias of people also gets reflected in the functioning of institutions. For instance, apathetic attitude of police and their reluctance to accept racial violence and crime as racially motivated. This attitude is prevalent in media reporting in their rather willful negligence of incidents and selective representation in popular media. Northeast Indians have borne the brunt of institutionalized racism. Some such instances that have occurred recently are an incident where students from Manipur were asked by CISF personnel to provide Aadhaar card and other identity proofs even after showing their student identity cards to prove that they are Indians, since they thought that these students looked like foreigners. Another instance is of a Manipuri student, Monica Khangambam, who was going for an international conference with a valid Indian passport on 10 July 2016, who was asked irrelevant questions like the number of states in India by an immigration official at the Indira Gandhi International Airport, as she thought that she did not look Indian enough for him. In 2007, the Delhi police decided to solve the problems of security faced by Northeasterners in Delhi, particularly women, by coming up with a booklet entitled Security Tips for Northeast Students, asking Northeastern women not to wear revealing dresses, and gave kitchen tips on preparing bamboo shoot, akhuni and other smelly dishes without creating ruckus in neighborhood. Institutional racism more significantly comes to force when victims of racist attacks seek remedy through law. They experience double prejudice at the hands of the police or investigating officer in the form of attempts by the police to suppress or make light of the crime, the tendency to cast aspersions on the character of the victims or complainants, and refusal to register FIRs, or of putting unnecessary pressures on the victims to withdraw the case, etc. It is interesting that all the recent protests are as much against police apathy as they are about racial prejudice at a mass level. The next big ethical issue is the ethical issue regarding technology. Since technology has shrunk the world so much that everything seems to be just a click away, it is posing ethical threats on all several counts. One such threat comes from the social media. Police cases are being tried in the court of public opinion on the internet. We keep getting WhatsApp messages of videos on officer caught on video. Social media is also used to publicize cases in an effort to bias the jurors. In some cases, law enforcement also takes to social media as a means to defend the actions of officers under scrutiny. Development of a sound social media policy is essential for criminal justice system. There are ethical issues pertaining to wrongful convictions or miscarriages of justice as well. Wrongful convictions always question the credibility of the entire criminal justice system. It harms public perception of and faith in the system. However, often criminologists are seen justifying such miscarriages of justice by resorting to their overarching goal of reducing crimes. They say that such errors are not so important and are only unintended consequences of their efforts to reduce crime. However, the question is whether such unintended consequence is a price worth paying for ensuring community safety and reducing crime risk. It becomes even more challenging in jurisdictions involving death penalty or any other extreme punishment where the case is faulty. At times, compensation has to be paid to such cases, and at times it leads towards commissions of inquiry as well. The inquiries consistently revealed major systemic problems including questionable conduct by prosecutors and defense counsel, failure to disclose information, and flawed investigation by law enforcement agencies. The inquiries recommended considering an independent review body to investigate claims of wrongful conviction. The next ethical issue is related to information sharing or withholding. There are also ethical problems resulting from either information sharing or information withholding from a client, from the police, or even from the courts. The problem could be associated with confidentiality issues and privileged communication. For example, during research participation, one may be tempted to leak out some of the informant's information gathered. Withholding of sensitive information could also jeopardize the well-being of people involved. Last are the ethical issues pertaining to victims. Justice for victims is hard to attain. It is often stated that a victim is twice victimized, once by the offense and once more by the process. It is extremely important on the part of the criminology professionals to address the needs of victims and protect their rights. Victims of rape and domestic violence, for instance, are asked to recount their experiences and details of the crime again and again. This has deep psychological impact that adversely affects their well-being. Victim shaming is another issue that needs to be seriously considered. Apart from these various issues, let us now discuss the variety of code of ethics. After exhaustively discussing all the areas where a criminologist can be confused about what is right and what can go wrong, let us now have a look at what sets of beliefs, dispositions, and behaviors actually comprise the ethical codes of conduct. These ethical codes of conduct for any practitioner help in discriminating the right behavior and the wrong behavior. No profession can ever be called a responsible profession without its own code of conduct and code of ethics. Apart from the general rules of integrity, objectivity, competence, fairness, confidentiality, and professionalism, following are some of the code of ethics that American Society for Criminology and the Board of Criminology of the Philippines prescribe. These serve as guidelines for everyday professional conduct. The first set deal with general principles. Some ethical principles span across disciplines and are called the general principles of conduct. These general principles primarily deal with enhancing the general well-being of societies, groups, and individuals. This can be attained by not contributing in any way to any kind of social injustice such as discrimination, oppression, or harassment in their own work, by avoiding incompetent, unethical, or dishonest use of criminological knowledge. While doing their duty, criminologists ought to be just, impartial, and reasonable. A criminologist of any country is the upholder of law of that nation and must ensure that he is a prime defender of that system of law, professionally as well as in their private life. Since study of crime is full of risks, criminologists should not knowingly expose their colleagues or researchers or any person's well-being in jeopardy without their consent. They are committed to free and open access to knowledge, to public discourse on findings, and to sharing sources of those findings whenever possible. They maintain high levels of competence in their work that requires knowledge of theory and research. They treat everyone, including crime victims and those accused or convicted of crimes, with respect and dignity. They neither coerce nor obtain through manipulations, personal favors, sexual activity, or economic or professional advantages from any person. They shall recognize the limitation of their authority and at no time use their power, the power of their profession, for personal advantage. The criminologists show a genuine willingness to help, which is essential to their public image and their ability to do a good job. There are also specific guidelines with respect to ethical behavior. Apart from these general principles, there are some specific guidelines for the various roles of a criminologist. As is true for any ethical dilemma that we face in our life, every individual practitioner of criminology should appraise the ethical requirements of a specific situation, search for a range of alternatives, take help from colleagues, experts, and then decide on an ethical course of action. They also need to take responsibility for those actions. Hence, one size fits all cannot be the approach while deciding on an ethical course of action. The American Society for Criminology delineates guidelines for criminologists in the field of research, publication and review processes for editors and authors, in teaching and supervision, as evaluators, employees and also as experts. They need to maintain objectivity, integrity in the conduct of criminological research and abide by highest possible technical standard in their research. They should respect and protect the rights of research populations, their students and colleagues, and maintain the principles of informed consent, that is, the permission given with full knowledge of the risks involved, probable consequences and the alternatives, and confidentiality, as well as ensuring safety and security while conducting research. It should be noted that these code of ethics do not seek to impose a single model of ethical practice, but they provide a frame of reference to encourage and support reflective and responsible ethical behavior in criminological research and practice. This framework of principles helps in making decisions which have greater possibilities to reflect the principles, values and interests of all those involved in a particular situation. So, in summary, we can say that this module describes in detail a variety of ethical issues that face the field of criminology. Criminal procedure comprises of a number of steps that call for ethical decision making. Some of these ethical issues comprise of nature of interaction with offenders and community, ethical issues regarding corruption, ethical issues regarding brutality, regarding off-duty behavior, ethical issues regarding criminal profiling, regarding crime control, discriminatory practices, regarding technological uses, and regarding wrongful convictions and miscarriages of justice. Ethical issues regarding information sharing, withholding, issues pertaining to victims' well-being are also important to be considered. Apart from the issues, the module also discusses some general principles as well as some specific guidelines regarding the code of ethics to be followed by a criminologist. One should always remember while practicing ethics that one cannot have a single model of ethics applying in a variety of situations. One needs to take into consideration the various ethical issues and factors before making up any ethical decision. Thank you.